Kevin, I have been very, very concerned about workers' compensation. When I was in the legislature, I fought very hard against privatization of workers' comp because I was concerned at the time that if we privatized it, the business was going to try to make money from it so that those who should have been insured by our small businesses, our hospitals, our firefighters, our hospice organizations, our small groups would have to pay more money, or the people who needed the workers' comp would get fewer benefits or less help because somebody's going to try to make money. I felt very comfortable with our state handling that because I felt as if our state workers would have full benefits and that they weren't trying to make money. They would just be trying to provide the service at the lowest cost. And I also saw where some governors were excusing the huge deficits in workers' compensation where the coal mines and other large corporations were not paying their fair share. They had not paid into workers' compensation, and some of the governors had actually excused that. So our small businesses and our little like volunteer fire departments or small organizations are going to have to pick up pick up the slack. Can you tell me what's been happening with that?
Well, I know that the workers' comp premiums for volunteer firefighters have skyrocketed in the last 10 years. And what's really alarming about that is yes, it's a high hazard, high risk occupation. But it used to be the rates were based on whether or not those firefighters completed all the necessary training. And nowadays, the state fire marshal's office is very, very strict on training, but yet the rates keep skyrocketing. There's departments that have never had a workers' comp claim that are now paying thousands and thousands of dollars a year per firefighter out of a very, very limited budget that has to cover insurance, equipment, vehicle maintenance, vehicle purchases in the future, plus the upkeep of their buildings. And
they're having to pay all of that?
Oh, they have to pay all of that out of what little they get from the state and counties.
Well, I was talking to some volunteer firefighters, several different people as I've been here in this part of West Virginia, in Lewis, Upshur, and Doddridge, trying to talk with people what's happening. I was alarmed that when the voters voted to give a 1% on all the insurances, 1% of that money would be going to the volunteer fire departments, and I understand from talking to them that it's like 0.5 something percent. They're not even getting the 1%.
Yeah.
And that they're being charged for the training. Like if they get trained, I guess, with the West Virginia State Police.
No,
or where are they? Who's
we get
charging?
most of our training through WVU's Fire Service Extension.
And the Fire Service Extension is charging West Virginia
Oh,
volunteer.
yeah. Oh,
That's a state-supported university. How can they do that?
It's a typical fire department course. Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2 is in the range of $250 to $350 for the course, and departments have to pay that for each member. If they don't, they're not a qualified firefighter. They're not allowed to go out on calls unless they've had this level of training. And so you've got an extreme expense with the training and then an extreme expense with the insurance on top of a problem where you're already not getting enough volunteers, in some cases, enough volunteers to safely do the job. We have departments here in Upshur County where during the day there's nobody available with that department that isn't over 60 years old.
And firefighting is huge. I mean, the stress it puts on you, it's dangerous and it's huge. But I'm also hearing that workers' comp, Brick Street, which is the big privatization that got that, they won't even insure our firefighters or volunteer firefighters, and that the volunteer firefighters don't have a choice.
No, they don't have a choice. There's only 2 insurers anymore in West Virginia.
Yes, and outrageous rates. What was it they used to pay when we had workers' compensation? Maybe the Board of Risk
Mm-hmm.
They paid maybe a couple $1,000s a year, and now it's 19,000 perhaps, or even more, in maybe in some counties.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of such price gouging.
It's horrendous, and there's no justification for it because they're not getting bombarded with claims. These departments are strictly adhering to the training regiment that is required. So we're not having a lot of accidents. We're not having a lot of injuries, but yet the rates skyrocket. So somebody's getting rich off of it.
And this is the thing that really concerns me about what's happened. We see large corporations, we see ALEC invading West Virginia with these corporate pieces of legislation, whether it's repealing the prevailing wage or implementing right to work. These assaults upon West Virginia workers, on West Virginia, even our volunteer fire departments, must stop. We have to have leaders in West Virginia that are going to address these issues that I'm hearing over and over as I travel throughout the state about how our leaders have a deaf ear to the small businesses, our volunteer fire departments, our people, our union contractors who are trying to make certain that West Virginia workers are getting good benefits and fair wages. This assault upon West Virginians must stop. And I want to guarantee you, as governor of West Virginia, Charlotte Pritt has a 100% voting record with the people of West Virginia on all counts. I invite you to check out my voting record, and I ask you to stand by me just as I have stood for you the 8 years that I served in the West Virginia legislature. I've been gone for a while, but I'm coming back because West Virginia must have a leader who puts people first. Thank you, and remember me on November the 8th.